you guys are women, you're feminists. I think all of you believe in the patriarchy. Are you oppressed?
I've gotten used to the position that I've been put in.
That you've been put in.
When you say the position that you've been put in, is it an oppressed position?
It could be seen by some, yeah.
Okay, so
depending on your views
let
of
me
sex work.
clarify the question. Are you oppressed, and if so, how?
I'm oppressed. I guess, yeah. The way that I started doing sex work at 18, I started 2 weeks after I turned 18 because I was on social media a lot at the age of like 16.
Hold on. Hold on. Let's save the story. Brian's question was, are you oppressed, and if so, how?
Yeah, I'm telling you how. Being told at age 16, 17 that you're going to be making hundreds and hundreds of dollars if you sell them content of you naked, is that not like...
Is that oppression or opportunity?
You think that's an opportunity?
Well, hold on.
Or privilege.
Hold on.
Or privilege.
I wouldn't even say that's a privilege
Respectfully, I think that you have a serious victim complex. You said that you were put in this position, but you're also telling me that someone came to you and told you, hey, you can make a lot of money.
Not one person.
So, okay, multiple people told you, hey, you can make a lot of money if you do this work. And then did you make the decision to start doing the work, or were you forced into it? Did you make the decision?
Do you want like a release?
I'm just.
You said you don't want
asking.
to trauma dump, so I'm not going to explain it to you.
You
said don't trauma
fair.
dump, and you said don't make a personal attack, and I feel like you are.
I'm not trying to make a personal attack, but you're telling me that you were okay. Let me put it this way. You're telling me that you were essentially forced. You were put in this position, and I'm asking. I want to say this respectfully. Were you forced by someone into this position? Like, were you trafficked into it, or was it a choice that you made?
Yeah, respectfully, I'm not going to answer that question. That's like not something I'm comfortable answering.
Okay. Could you make the choice to leave the industry?
Yeah.
But you don't want to?
No, because I feel fine now.
So you're making the decision to stay in this position?
Yeah, because I feel great now about myself.
Okay.
Okay. How are you oppressed? Or are you oppressed? How are you oppressed? As a
I
woman.
would say, okay, yes, I'm oppressed, and I would say that more than likely, unless you are a billionaire, everybody in this room is oppressed. And I'm not saying you have to agree with me, but from the perspective that I take with capitalism and the other social issues, I would say, to put it shortly, I'm oppressed and everybody is oppressed.
Hold on.
Or most,
but
a lot of
that's
people.
not,
everybody who's not a billionaire is oppressed?
It's very complicated.
But you're talking about class oppression. We're talking about patriarchy. So I suppose gender. As a woman, how are you oppressed?
Yeah, do men oppress you?
Are you oppressed as a woman?
Yes.
How so?
I guess wage difference would be a good example, just generally.
Okay.
A specific example for myself. Yes, okay. Being viewed differently and being viewed as dumb or less intelligent simply because I'm a woman or a young woman.
How do you know that you're being viewed in that way because you're a woman?
Yeah, versus you just say dumb stuff. Like maybe that's why people view it that way instead of it being because you're a woman. So he's asking, what's the distinction between maybe you're saying dumb stuff versus they see it this way because I'm a woman?
Because I know if men were saying the same stuff that I'm saying, they would be respected. And like in this conversation,
look, I'm going to be honest. If a man was saying the same stuff, I wouldn't respect him more for saying it because he was a man, and I would actually go a lot harder against what he was saying.
Andrew, do you have anything on the wage gap? Because she mentioned that.
I've got something. You said that you do OnlyFans?
Yeah, it's very small,
Okay.
But yes.
So men who do OnlyFans make a fraction of what women make on OnlyFans. Would you say that men who do OnlyFans are oppressed because there's a wage gap between them and women?
And is it due to sexism? The wage gap on OnlyFans, is that due to sexism?
Well, it's because
So
of the
with
patriarchy, probably.
So
It's a
there's
market.
actually not
It's
really
supply
a wage.
and demand.
But so why is it supply and demand when women have an advantage, but when men have an advantage in some field, it must be evidence of sexism, wage gap, and patriarchy?
No, because this was a
Gay
business
men have
based off of
OnlyFans
sex.
too. It's just
Huh?
not.
Yeah, this is an industry based off of sex.
And
so
well, okay, let's talk. Let me
there
ask you a
is
question.
there are not as many gay people as there are gay men who want to buy porn. Do not
Why don't straight
have as-
women? Why don't straight women want to consume?
because I don't
They
want
do.
to. I don't want to buy porn.
do.
not at the
personally.
same frequency that men do. But, let me
you're
ask you
not-
guys.
you're not on
barely
that
watch
side
Let
of
me ask you guys a
porn.
question. Let me ask you guys a question. Hold on. Okay. Do you think, for example, the WNBA or women's soccer, right? You hear stories they're paid less than their male counterparts. WNBA players make far less than male NBA players. Do you think that is evidence of a wage gap? Do you think that's sexist? Do you
Because
think that's
men don't
unfair?
watch it.
But do you think it's unfair? Go ahead.
I think it's less of a wage gap and more of men. So men are the main consumers of sports content, right? And then they generally don't have a lot of respect for women's sports. They don't.
Maybe they just don't want to watch it,
I'm
just
gonna
like
interrupt.
women don't want to watch male sports. Sorry for interrupting, but like,
Or males
It's a
OnlyFans.
social.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's what I
like,
meant.
I would think of it the same way as like the OnlyFans. It's a almost like being an independent contractor. There's no set wage. Now,
Okay.
for other jobs where there are set wages, like the medical profession or like the medical field, you can see a huge gap in men's salaries versus women's salaries.
In the
whereas-
medical field?
Yes.
Why
Yeah,
is
and you
that?
can
Or
look
just
that up.
Are you,
like
wait, are you,
office
telling me
office
that female
jobs.
doctors and male doctors get paid vastly different wages?
Yes.
Yes.
The exact working the same hours with the same credentials in the exact same discipline.
That's according to the studies that I've seen.
What were the male wages and what were the female wages?
I mean, I can pull them up real quick if you want to come back.
Well,
It's probably just
I'm just-
a fraction
I don't
less,
think-
but it's still there.
well, just going back to the.
I need the exact number.
I honestly, I'm calling cap. I think if
But
there's,
women
if
are
hold on,
caregivers.
I think if there's a male doctor and if there's a female doctor and they have the same degrees, the same qualifications, they're working the same job. Let's use surgeons as an example, extremely
Exactly,
highly
yeah.
paid. If they have the same degrees and qualifications, they do the same kinds of surgeries, and they work the same hours, I would be willing to bet they're making the same money.
but it's
I can
proven that
regardless
they're
of
not.
sex.
They're
Do you-
more likely to get
do you
hired
have
as
any-
well, 'cause
Yes,
they're
they are
women.
probably more likely to get hired.
Do you
than
have
women.
Probably
female
Yeah,
doctors?
because they can
One
pay
at a
the
time,
women
one at a time.
less.
No, they can't.
They pay.
No,
You're gonna argue
if there was
on
if there was
this,
a
but-
hospital that had listings for surgeons and there was a female surgeon and a male surgeon and they were doing the exact same job but they were paying the woman way less because she was a woman, she could probably file a lawsuit against that hospital and sue them to high heavens.
This has been legislated since the 1960s.
say so.
If it was the case that corporations could get away with paying women 25% less, 30% less, whatever the number is,
They would do
corporations
it.
would just hire women.
Yeah.
As a businessman, if I could save 30% on wages paid to employees, I would, and they were just as competent, I would of course just be hiring women.
But in the eyes of, would you hire all women?
If he could
I
save
mean, if you have all
30%
of
I don't-
on his
I don't
bottom
have-
line,
I don't have
So
a.
his question is like this, right? To frame it easy.
I didn't get to answer the.
If you
one
are
question
you
too.
are the head of a corporation, let's say you're one of these female CEOs, okay, and you see that you can pay women less than you can their male counterparts to get the same amount of work out of them, then why wouldn't corporations leverage that in order to bring in more women employees and pay them less? That's the question.
yeah.
It's a good question. I'm not a CEO. I honestly don't know. I don't know how they do it because, like you guys said, it's illegal. It's technically
Yeah, I mean,
They
but
have
does that make
they
sense?
put them
There's so
at
many
lower.
loopholes.
There's a hierarchy in all jobs, so the men get the bigger. They get the bigger parts of the jobs. They get the better employment
Okay, but
benefits,
even, but
and
even taking
so
that in,
there's like
yeah,
there will
go
be
ahead.
someone ahead of a company, and then people working around them are mostly men, and then under those men there's the women, like in American Psycho, where Patrick Bateman had his assistant that was a woman. She obviously is getting paid less, and that's usually their part.
Wait, she's getting paid less
What do you
than
mean she's obviously getting paid
than
less?
Patrick
Because
Bateman?
she-
You don't even know how much Patrick Bateman's assistant is getting paid.
Because
It's
she's
a
an
fictional
assistant.
movie.
I know.
Wait,
but-
so are you saying the assistant?
for an example-
isn't he a lawyer in? Is he a lawyer in
No,
that film?
he's an
or-
investment
no, he's an
banker.
investment banker.
Okay,
But
so the assistant should be paid as much as the investment banker.
No, he's
I'm
saying
saying-
she's definitely getting paid less because she's a woman.
No, I am saying
Versus-
that
Even though
she-
we don't know her wage in the movie.
Versus the other
Am I allowed to finish?
non-existent
you guys
male assistant.
you
Go
guys
ahead.
misconstrued
Go
my
ahead.
entire what I was
Okay,
trying to
go
get
ahead.
at, so I would like to
Okay.
finish
I need
that.
to return some tapes, but go ahead.
I'm saying that they're hired at lower positions than the men in those and whatever. I'm speaking from like when you're working.
Sorry, I didn't mean to press that. My bad.
Thank you, but yeah, it just there's a hierarchy. So yes, there's going to be more men that are the investment banker.
Grid One Motorsports donated $200. I refute wage gap. Wish I could have gotten hired only on the basis of being a woman. The privileges a woman is afforded are off the chart. Thank the patriarchy.
Oh.
And I wanted to finish the part about me because you guys asked before.
Oh, like how are you? Are you oppressed? How are you
Yes,
oppressed?
and I was
Okay,
going to answer.
Sure. Let's
I
go
don't
back to
believe
that.
I am oppressed because I make a good wage. I mean, as a woman, societally, I've been treated different. I don't know if you've had the, are you going to get kidnapped when you're a child? When you're a little boy, did your mom pull you aside and tell you these things that you're going to be a victim,
My mom was terrified I would be kidnapped.
Yeah. So, but a lot of men aren't told those things. Like women are raised that way to where we're.
I was-
we're
Well,
scared.
actually,
I was told
speaking
that.
speaking.
But
of
I
the-
don't believe now. I'm saying now.
Okay.
But I believe in general, yes, that women are oppressed. But I am at a place of.
Well, just I want to add one little.
I
point
have
to-
more. There's people that can't speak for themselves that are of less status. I make enough money. I have my own apartment. I'm able to pay my own bills and that kind of thing. So I don't believe that I am oppressed because I work by myself, like personally.
But when you
me.
were a young child, you were oppressed because there were fears
No,
that you
I'm
would
not
be
saying
kidnapped.
the oppression thing. I'm saying that I don't believe I'm oppressed, but sex workers in general and women
Are oppressed.
Yes, the
So
lower
why
the,
couldn't they
the
just,
lower
like,
the
choose
status,
not to do it, though, and
women
stop
are
the
of lower
oppression?
status. So they generally, societally,
Are they?
the lower status? Yes. Besides being
Not sure I agree with that,
being able to get free drinks at a bar, which is like wonderful,
or not,
cool.
Not being
I mean,
subject to military conscription.
What is it when you say status? What do you mean by status? What do you mean by they're a lower status in society?
Because women are just of lower status. We're not
That's
taken
just
as.
begging
That's a
the
rather-
I'd say
question.
different status.
That's a rather
but-
sexist
So you just
statement for you to make.
So if I ask you, if
I mean, I
say,
guess
what's the
consider me-
He's
distinction?
not making that statement.
I mean, I guess
obviously.
consider me sexist.
She just
I-
did.
No. But what I'm saying is that if I ask you, what
I'm
makes
genuinely
them,
trying to.
Yeah, if I say what makes them lower status, and you say because they're lower status, it's regressive. So you're just kind of restating
yeah.
the claim.
How,
so
how are they
Okay.
lower status?
What makes them lower status?
Societally, there's a hierarchy. There's just a hierarchy. Men are up here, women are
Would-
here.
here,
That's a pretty
would-
sexist
Depending
do you think-
depending on
What can
what
women not
and
do
then
that men can?
and then what can women
Do you think
can I
men?
was talking
Do you
to
think
them.
men are more valued than women?
Yes, absolutely. And
Let me ask you a question then.
especially if sex
Hold on,
workers
hold
are
on.
of less
One
and
of the rules
less.
that we talked about at the beginning of the show is when either of us are talking,
I
you need
was-
to stop. Brian wanted to ask you a follow-up question. You keep talking over everybody else on the panel, okay? Let him host the show, please. I'm starting to get fed up with it.
I'm trying to. I'm just bouncing.
I know
off
you're trying. I know you're
conversation.
making a lot of
It's
different
okay.
points.
It's all
but,
right.
like,
It's all right. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm not.
I'm
okay
not
with
trying
it.
to disrespect. I'm
Don't
trying
worry.
to bounce off the conversation.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I'll continue with the conversation.
Yes.
So, if it is the case that men are more valued than women, why is it the case that throughout all of human history, when there's a war, for example, men are the ones who are sent to war to go and to die? In my view, I believe that men are actually viewed as the disposable sex. I would argue that women are more valued because when it comes down to warfare, men are going to be the ones that are sent to war to go and die. Men are disposable, women are valued.
When women went to war in the 50s, or when men went to
In the
war,
50s, are you talking about the Korean War? What are you talking about?
What war,
I'm
what war
not
did
well
women go
I'm
to?
not well versed in
Which
the
war did women
specific-
go?
Which
the
war did
historical-
women go to?
But there's a certain war time period where women were taking the work. They were doing all.
Okay,
They
I
were sending
see
the
what you're saying.
clothes. They were in the workshops.
Is that them going to war or being
no,
part of the
and
war
they
effort?
they would have to go
just
to.
let me finish, please. But go ahead. No, I was. You interrupted me. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm okay. I'm gonna.
No,
just-
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I would like you to finish.
Just go ahead.
I
But you
lost-
said when women went to war, but I think you were talking, I was trying to clarify your point. I think you were trying to say that women were assisting with the war effort. But are you talking, I think you were referencing World War II. Women did not, at least in the United States, there's maybe one Russian sniper division, maybe not, I might be using the wrong word there. Women in mass were not involved in World War II from a combat perspective. But so, what were you saying?
I forgot.
Okay,
But-
just
So
out of
I would-
curiosity,
I just-
hold on.
I
Out
would
of
like to ask-
hold on. I'm really tired of this conversation. Out of curiosity, for you two, do you guys feel oppressed in society as women?
I feel privileged.
You feel privileged. Why do you feel privileged?
There's a bunch of things as a woman that I can get away with that men can't.
Like what?
Like certain kind of expectations.
Okay.
Like say we're walking on a sidewalk and some person comes up to me, I would expect them like and did something weird or made me feel uncomfortable. 9 out of 10 times, like say I'm walking around in Seattle, there'll be another guy that's like, dude, what are you doing? Right? But if a dude gets in an argument with another guy, like it's a fight, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel valued. I feel like there's so many things that I can do. I feel like I'm picked over men a lot because I am a woman.
What do you think
Yeah.
of the narrative that women are just oppressed throughout all of society by the patriarchy?
I think it's bullshit, and I think that it's a victim mentality, and I think that the more that you preach about it and the more that you try and convince yourself that, the more of a victim you will probably behave like.
I would agree with that. How about yourself? Do you feel oppressed?
No, not at all. How our household works is my husband is the head of the household. And I absolutely love gender roles. I think that they're really important. And I think that the sooner that we embrace them, you can find freedom. And with my husband, I have learned to be a submissive wife. And he always tells me, you submit yourself into freedom. If you go down the street, you can do whatever and say whatever you want. You carry a big husband. I fall under the protection of my husband, of a man. I think societally, I think that men dominate the system, but I think for the right reason.
What is that reason?
I think that men are qualified for, how can I explain this? I think that,
Do you think it possibly comes down to like competency, drive, motivation, male, testosterone fueled motivation for success and to reach the top of industries and stuff like that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the workforce, I think that men absolutely have that driving force. I think that women are, here's going to be the hot take. I think that women are made to be feminine, to be supportive of men.
Fakelanus donated $200. Men literally die to protect women. Men work themselves to death doing hard jobs for their women. Fakelanus, perhaps you never meet these men because you do not value yourself. Get some help, be Betty.
Betty.
If you want to continue on with your point, go ahead.
I think that toxic masculinity, I don't know if I'm going too far off topic, I think is a joke. I, again, really support gender roles. I think that they're really important. And I think that we're losing sight of it. So
you don't feel oppressed conforming to a gender role in which you're submitting to your husband and subordinate to him?
I really cannot think of any time that I have ever felt oppressed. I am just sitting here just speechless.